that prevent the other part of the two-step process? Two-step process because filed by the lower house, prosecutors, received by the Senate, the trial jurors, the trial judges, would not that prevent the other part of the two-leg process from initiating another complaint because there is now a case pending which you say should be continuing?
If the majority leader will allow me not to respond, but,
Yes, because
his question is very loaded and provides the hint of what can happen in the future.
Mr. President, I've taken too much time of this body. I would relish interpolating the good minority leader even for 5 hours on this topic alone. But again, Mr. President, siguro mahabang-mahaba na po ito. I stick again to my previous manifestation that if we will not be able to conclude whether acquittal or conviction, the present impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte before the lapse of the 19th Congress, the same is functionally dismissed or deemed de facto dismissed, Mr. President. Yun lamang po, Mr. President, at ako po ay nagpapasalamat sa ating minority leader.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino. Briefly, Senator Pimentel.
Mr. President, while I still have the floor, can I request for some information from the Senate President, especially regarding the impeachment calendar that
The
is
gentleman may proceed.
because you issued the first impeachment calendar was issued by the Senate President when we were already on break. I mean, Mr. President, tama po yun, di ba?
That is correct.
So, Mr. President, may we know when His Honor issued the first legislative calendar, impeachment calendar, which fixed June 2 as the time for receiving the House prosecutors, may we know the basis of the authority of the Senate President when he issued the first impeachment calendar, Mr. President?
Article 1 of the impeachment rules, which says that the Senate President can set the date for the presentation of the articles of impeachment. Mention was made specifically of the Senate President. And also we were on recess. So the Senate President at that time, Your Honor, issued a suggested calendar of activities. I was very clear when I stated that. Subject to plenary approval when we resume, because you were already on recess at that time. The second notice sent by this representation was made also while we were on recess. And I also stated that it was subject to plenary approval and or reversal as the case may be, given the load that we need to take up after the LEDAC meeting.
So, yes, Mr. President, I noticed that no one from the majority was complaining about the original or initial impeachment calendar issued by the Senate President. So we were all looking forward to the date where there should be some action on the impeachment, which is
Yes.
June 2.
Supposedly, yes.
Yes, supposed to be. Kaninang 4 o'clock yung the prosecutors from the House of Representatives should have appeared before us to read the articles of impeachment. But then this was changed. So from June 2, changed by the Senate President also, now
June 11.
it's June 11 at 4 p.m. So if the authority used to issue the original calendar was based on the fact that we were on break, now that we are not on break, could not have the Senate President waited for 3 p.m. and then we discussed moving the June 2 4 p.m. to June 11 4 p.m.?
Because, Your Honor, notice had to be given to the House with respect to the proposed change in schedule. And we could not decide on moving it after the House members are already here in the Senate. That was the reason behind it, Your Honor.
That was His Honor's judgment call, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President. Yes, Your Honor.
Just on another matter, Mr. President, yung appearance ba ng House prosecutors ay nasa Senate impeachment rules or you just took this from American practice, Mr. President?
It is not in the rules. That was lifted from American practice because what was done before was that the majority leader,
Yes.
the Senate majority leader, was the one that read the articles of impeachment that was referred to the Committee on Rules that triggered the convening of the impeachment court. When we researched on it, we thought it was more proper, given that we should have no part in it, in the impeachment trial, in the prosecution of the impeachment case, that the prosecutors should themselves read the articles of impeachment, as is the practice in the United States, where we lifted most of our impeachment rules.
So it's an innovation. But although, had we done it, hindi naman, I don't think it would be fatal or make the proceedings infirm. So it's just not, to use the term of the majority leader, textually required under the existing Senate impeachment rules. Hindi pa ba?
No, what was required by our rules, if at all, was the referral of the impeachment complaint in plenary. Because mere filing with the Secretary General does not often by itself operate as the receipt by the Senate in plenary, given that, as with any communication, it has to be referred in plenary, officially by the Senate as a body.
Mr. President,
Sige, Mr. President.
Mr. President, with the permission,
Senator Tolentino is recognized. What is your pleasure, sir?
would the loaded question of the good minority leader, if decoded, would mean that should the presentment be made before the Senate sitting as a plenary, or should the presentment be made before the Senate constituted as an impeachment court? Baka yun po yung tanong nyo.
But it was, I think, it was the Senate President to research on American practice. How do they do? How do they do it in the United
In
States?
plenary, Your Honors, not as an impeachment court. Because again, mere receipt by the SecGen does not operationalize or start the process of impeachment. Any communication, and that is a communication from the House, must be referred by plenary to the appropriate committee for proper action. That in turn will now trigger, if at all, the convening of the impeachment court, where the regular processes would now be followed, such as the issuance of summons, etc., etc.
May we know the rule, Mr. President, that it
I'm
should
sorry?
be? May we know what the specific rule is? That in the rules, or is that by practice or costumbre? Tingnan niyo ano rule.
Under Rule 3, Paragraph 2, upon presentation of the articles to the Senate shall specify the date and time for the consideration of the articles.
Yes, but
So the articles need to be presented to the Senate.
yes, but so your Honor is reading our Senate impeachment rules.
Yes.
Correct. So when we use the Senate in the Senate impeachment rules, we're talking about, we could be talking about the Senate as the impeachment court. Because
We
it's the
have-
Senate.
And by virtue of the procedure in Articles 1 to 3, we have not yet convened the court, Your Honor. For example, succeeding rules in our impeachment rules, 4 onwards, would pertain to the Senate already as an impeachment court, because that is already the trial proper, beginning with the issuance of summons.
Mr. President, the second sentence already contradicts His Honor, because it says, second sentence of that second paragraph of Rule 3, unless the Senate provides otherwise, it shall continue in session from day to day. Session na yan as court. Kasi until final judgment eh. Yun na yun eh. So, the use of, when we use Senate in the Senate impeachment rules, we refer to the Senate as the court.
Mr. President,
According to the Secretariat, Your Honor, the dividing line is when we take our oath as senator judges and convene
Russian tabloid news kumikiling sa katotohanan. Balik na serbisyo, walang iwanan. Binig na masa, laging handa sa